Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So on today's video, we'll be working on the GX470 again. As the thumbnail says, I'm actually going to rebuild the front calipers on the GX470. Some of the seals are bad on it right now, and I have to take it apart, place the seals on it with a new OEM seal kit. So go ahead and stay tuned if you want to find out more. I'm not going to show you guys how I took apart the calipers, but obviously if you're going to change your seals, you have to take apart all the calipers, disconnect the lines, and keep it from dripping. So over here you see I already took it all out. If you're doing this, you probably know how to take all this apart already, so I'm not going to waste my time showing you guys any of these details. So once you have the calipers off, you want to go ahead and just spray everything down with some degrease. So I cleaned all these up with some super clean, went outside, rinsed it down with the water to get most of the dirt, brake dust, and grease off these calipers. I'm gonna go ahead and powder coat these because I want them to have a nice coating on them and a protective paint basically on them. So I'm gonna go ahead and powder coat those off camera. If you guys want to learn how to powder coat your own calipers, I have other good videos where I did some Brimbos on my IS300 if you want to check that video out. But for this video, we'll just go ahead and skip through that. So the main reason why I need to change my seals, as you can see, some of my boots on here have ripped, and I've also lost the little rings that go around the actual seals to seal that whole thing in. So this caliper really needs it because it's going to let dirt and dust and eventually seize that piston. So we want to go ahead and catch those early and replace all the seals while we can before it gets worse and we have to get a new caliper. But overall, these calipers were in very good condition other than that one seal. Everything else looked pretty good when I took it apart. I didn't really see much damage or anything as far as they go. These only had 130,000 miles on them, the original 2008 calipers, and it looks like everything was always replaced with OEM. When I got this vehicle, I had OEM rotors on here and OEM pads that I took out, so everything was pretty good. The only thing they didn't do was have all the shims. Whoever did the brake job last time used OEM parts, but they didn't use the shims, so I had to replace those shims myself. As you guys saw, I went ahead and cleaned up all this thing with my vapor blast that I made out of my old blast cabinet here, the Harbor Freight one, using the Vivor pump down here. If you haven't seen that video, go ahead and check out that video. It shows you exactly step by step using this sump pump right here from Vivor to make this vapor blaster that makes sand blasting and media blasting so much easier and convenient without all the dirt and dust. All you use is basically water and glass bead with the air compressor, and you can pretty much clean up all your stuff. But yeah, I was able to get most of the dirt off of here. There's still a little bit of areas that are pretty dirty, but once I bake these things, most of that dirt is going to just burn off.
A few moments later.
So after spending a couple days, a few hours each day prepping these things and actually powder coating them, you can see it came out fire right there. Look at that. This color is called Kingsport Gray. It's a color that I've been a big fan of for a long time. My wheels on my IS250 are actually powder coated the same color, but it's a highly metallic gunmetal color that you can see right there. Shines when you shine light on it and you look at it, but the metallic on it is just crazy, and then the gloss and the flow out of it after you powder coat it looks really good. On these calipers, it gives it a nice good coating, and it gives it a little bit of color without being too ricey, with having like an orange or a red or a blue color. So this thing is exactly what I want to go for on this vehicle. I don't want it to look too gaudy, but it still looked good. But I went through, as you can see, and got this thing all done off camera. Like I mentioned earlier, if you want to learn how to do this, go ahead and watch one of my other videos where I did it on some set of Brimbos, where I go through all the steps on how to powder coat. As far as the rebuild kit that we're going to be using today, this is the part number for the OEM kit. This thing's about $18 to $20 depending on where you buy it and when you buy it. I believe I got this on regular price from Lexus for about 18 bucks, but it goes as low as 15, but it's definitely what you want to go for. They do make aftermarket ones for about the same price or a little bit cheaper. I think the biggest difference with the aftermarket ones, it actually comes with a couple O-rings where you can actually split these calipers by taking apart the 4 bolts on the back here. But on OEM applications, they actually don't recommend you opening it up just because of the risk of damaging that O-ring on the inside and causing leaks with your calipers. So as far as what comes with the kit, it's pretty much basic. It's the actual seals inside the cylinders that you want to swap out. The OEM ones come pre-coated with a grease or an oil already, so you can go ahead and put it in there. It also comes with a spare package right here of some of that same oil. The thing with these seals is you want to keep them away from petroleum or any other regular oils because they're going to expand and won't fit properly. So you want to stick with brake fluid or the actual grease that it comes with. And then the dust shields, it comes with all 8 dust shields right here for 2 calipers, and then it comes with the rings that snap those things and hold those things on right there. So this thing pretty much does it all for you. If you buy aftermarket ones, they only sell like one side or the other. They don't sell both sides like this with the OEM kit. So on my caliper right here, you'll see this one right here. This is the one that was damaged and caused me to go down this path of replacing it. It actually lost its snap ring, and then this piece of it ripped over time, and I saw this when I was messing with the pads one day. So that's the problem right there. The other ones all still have that little snap ring on there, but they basically, you could just lift it off right here and then take those seals off on all 4 sides. Since I knew I was powder coating them, I left them on actually just to provide a spot where I won't get any powder in it, because I knew I was going to throw these things out and take them out. So the next thing we have to do is basically just undo all that, make sure these things come off of there all around, and then I want to go ahead and put a block in between here, get us some compressed air, and actually shoot these things out halfway, and then we're going to manually try to pull them off after that. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to go ahead and go in here and just kind of remove all these things or break them loose from the powder coat and get them all loosened up on both these calipers. So we got all those rings off right there. They come off pretty easily. They're not held on very much other than the tension of them. As you can see, they kind of overlap like a key ring right there, but you actually pull them apart where they're actually almost touching each other on the ends to hold them onto the lip on the outside. So actually 2 of mine were actually missing those rings, this one right here, and then the damaged boot on that side on this particular caliper right here. So the next thing we're going to do, we're going to put this 2x4 block here to stop these things from going out too far, because once you spray compressed air, you want all 4 of these to come out as much as you can, but evenly, so that way they can hold air. Once you get them out far enough, you can start working your way with your fingers and hands manually to pull them out of the actual piston holes. So you can see it came out pretty easily. You pretty much have them even on all 4 sides. I did kind of push these back in to try to get this out a little bit further, but we'll go ahead time lapse through me trying to take these things out and see how easy or how hard it is to get those pistons actually out of the hole. Alright, you saw me take those things out. It was a little bit hard at first until I figured out what I needed to do. So I just took 2 flathead screwdrivers. I grabbed it by the lip here, not to damage the actual piston or any of that, and I got it out. And it was full of sludge, at least on the bottom piston, the one that's not on the top here near the bleeder valve, because that's where basically where all the sediment and everything and all the old fluid goes. So you want to go ahead and clean that all out with some brake clean the pistons off, make sure everything's good. If you see any kind of corrosion or anything in there, just go ahead and hit it with a little Scotch-Brite just to clean it up, and then we'll go ahead and pull the seals out. You can see those seals inside the actual bore right there. So there's 4 of those seals that you're going to be replacing with these guys right here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take the seals out and replace them with the new ones right there. So the easiest way is to use a little pick like this, one of those that you can get from Harbor Freight or from Amazon, and then you could just get it right down to the edge right here, or any of these little edges, and just kind of pry it out and then just pull the whole thing out. Make sure after you take it out just to clean up anything that's inside that hole or where the seal was, to make sure everything's clean before you put the new one on. All right, getting those rings out and cleaning it up was pretty easy. So the next thing we're gonna do is go ahead and put the new ones in. Again, it's gonna be pretty easy just slipping it in. As you can see, they come greased already in the bag. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use the pink grease that it comes with to kind of lube up the piston to make sure it slips in perfectly and easily. So now we got the seal and the pistons in. It's pretty easy, slips in. Just grease them up with your fingers using some gloves. Next thing we're gonna do is gonna put this ring around here before we set it into the hole. So just in case, I'm gonna go ahead and put some of that pink grease in here too, just to make sure that we have a lubricated surface on this thing and it doesn't mess up anything. All right, the next thing we're gonna do, or the last thing really, because I've got all the pistons in, I've got all the seals in, we're gonna go ahead and put that ring on. As I mentioned earlier, this thing's like a key ring where you just basically have to pull it apart and then it actually just compresses back down by its own pressure. I noticed when I took it off that the open side was on the down position or the inside position, so we're gonna go ahead and match that when we put these things back on. All right, we pretty much got all 4 seals on this one caliper put back in. Everything looks perfect. I put those rings in with that opening on the bottom like I mentioned earlier, but pretty simple and straightforward as far as seal replacement goes. I've done other calipers, more traditional ones that have been much harder than this, so this thing is pretty straightforward and easy. So I'll go ahead and do the other one on a time lapse, and then we'll go ahead and get this back on the vehicle. All right, was able to get this one back together. I had a little bit of harder time getting the pistons out of here, as you can see from the time lapse, but we were able to get it out pretty easily once I started using the screwdriver and a little bit of mallet to work the way around the edge of it. But we got everything in here. All the seals are done, got the rings on, make sure everything's properly seated down. So I'll go ahead, install this on the vehicle now, and then I'll show you guys how to bleed this thing. A lot of people talk about bleeding the ABS. That's only if you drain the fluid. You don't want to go draining the fluid where you get air into the ABS and all that stuff up. You want to be able to just turn the car on but not start it, so you get that thing priming and having someone help you. So we'll go ahead and show you how to bleed that towards the end of the video. So for those of you who haven't bled brakes on a 4Runner, a GX, or a FJ Cruiser, it's pretty simple. It's got that booster on the front, the ABS booster that runs all the time, so you have to keep the car on. You don't need to start it, but you just need to leave it on. And we want to bleed the back passenger first, the back driver, the front passenger, and then the driver's side. For my particular vehicle, I don't know the history of the fluid, so I'm gonna go ahead and do a flush. So the flush is basically just keep the reservoir full and then pump with this rear valve open to get most of the fluid at the furthest point out. You got to watch it in a clear tube to see when the clear fluid comes out, which is the new fluid, and then you move to the other sides and kind of do the same thing until you see clear fluid coming out. As far as the actual bleeding procedure, once we flush it out on all 4 corners and we're good with the fluid, we'll go ahead and do a actual bleed. Do the bleed, the easiest way is to have someone help you. And what you're going to do is make sure that your reservoir is full. You'll have the person in the vehicle basically pump the brake pedal 2 or 3 times, hold it while you release the valve and close it right away. Once you see all the fluid coming out and there's no more bubbles or air in the line, go ahead and close it up and move on to the next side. So before we start bleeding or even pumping the brakes with the new seals and everything on here, you want to go ahead and just fill this thing up to the top. You could probably overfill it because we have to actually refill the chambers inside the caliper since we just took that all apart. Also, if you guys didn't know, the minimum and maximum on all these brake reservoirs are actually designed to be an indicator for your brake pad life. Since I'm not putting in new pads on this project right now, I'm gonna go ahead and just fill it up. But remember, next time when you do it and you push the piston back in, you have to have some napkins or something up here to soak up any excess, or even a turkey baster to take out some of that fluid. So next you wanna go inside. Don't turn the car on, just turn the power on and you'll hear the buzzing from the ABS pump just priming up. As they're doing that, just go ahead and just pump the brake to kind of get some fluid into the system, and then go back out and double check your reservoir. Make sure you're not losing or taking it down too much as far as the amount of fluid in the reservoir. So it'll run for a little bit just to kind of prime everything right now. But then once you do this, go down and check your calipers. You'll see that the pads are closed up and the pistons are out. But right now the pedal is really soft because of all the air in the system. So we're gonna have to go ahead and bleed that and drain it and flush it after this. So to start, you wanna go ahead, get your hose, You want to get just a clear hose so you can actually see the fluid coming out, and just a clear water bottle or something to grab it, and just plug it up. You need a 10mm sitting in here. I use the clothes in so I don't strip anything. And I will go ahead and just put it there, and then you need a helper that's inside the vehicle. You want to basically turn the car on, but you don't need to start it, and just have them pump, and hold, and then you open this up to let the fluid flow through. All right, we'll go ahead, get your helper. Okay, go ahead, pump, and hold, and tell me when you hold. Hold, okay? Okay, pump, hold. Okay, pump. Okay, pump. Hold. Okay. Okay, I want you to turn the car off now, Abby. So right now, you see we got some old dirty fluid out. So I'm gonna move on to the next side, which is the rear driver's side. You want to make sure you top off every corner you go to make sure you don't go too low. But with that power booster on the ABS pumping this thing, this fluid moves really fast when you open the valve up. So you want to go pump, and hold. Hold. Okay, pump, hold. Okay, pump, hold. Hold. Okay, hold. Pump, hold. Okay. Okay, pump, hold, okay? Again, fluid is brown and dirty as hell. We'll move to the front passenger now. All right, I went ahead and emptied the bottle so we get fresh fluid and we don't overflow up here. So we'll go ahead and start again. Go. Okay, hold. There you go. Hold. Tell me when you hold, okay? You see the bubbles and the foam in there? That's air. There you go. Okay, go again. Okay, go again. One thing you'll hear is the ABS booster stopping after you open it up when it actually feels pressure. Pump and hold, Emma. Pump and hold. Once you start pumping again, it actually turns on. Alright, so we're on the front drivers now. This is the last corner when you're doing bleeding. So we'll go ahead and do the exact same thing we did on the other side. Pump again. Hold. 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 Go again. Hold. Okay. Go. Hold. Go again. Okay, hold. Hold it. Both in front new calipers, and you can see all the air and everything that was inside the line right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this whole bleeding procedure all over again at each corner just to clear more fluid out. Basically, that's all you need to do. I usually do it 2 to 3 times just to make sure everything's flushed through. All right, we were able to get this thing fully bleeded, cleaned up and everything. I went ahead and checked the reservoir. Everything looks good as far as fluid goes. I used that whole 32-ounce bottle to do this whole thing, so we're pretty much good. I'm below the max level right now, which is fine because I'm using the original pads or the ones that were in here already, so that's pretty good there. It should be a little bit lower, but I'll keep an eye on it next time I change my pads out. So other than that, we'll go ahead and put everything back together, go ahead and road test this to make sure everything's working good before we put it back on the road. Once I started it up and backed out, the level went down a little bit more, so it's about halfway, which is perfect for what I need and the pad depth that I have on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and road test it, make sure it performs right and everything's good. Over down the street, everything looks good. The pedal is nice and firm. It actually feels firmer than it was before I did this with the new fluid and the new seals and everything. So this is a pretty good success, so we're good here. Hey guys, thanks for joining me all the way to the end of this video on rebuilding those front calipers and bleeding the system on the GX470. As you can see, pretty straightforward as far as rebuilding goes. It was a lot easier than I expected to change those things out. There are a lot of them because you have like 4 pistons on each side, so that's 8 pistons. So it's definitely more work than a normal single piston caliper, but definitely easy to do, and overall probably a scale of a 3 out of 10 as far as difficulty goes. The hardest part is just removing everything and just taking it all out and cleaning it up, just the dirtiness of everything. Luckily, I cleaned everything up on mine and it was all powder coated brand new again before I started the seals. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to your channel, go ahead and subscribe to your channel. Turn on bell notifications to get notified every time I upload a video. For all these different projects, if I can do it, you guys can do it. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.